You can tell the goodness of a man by what he does for those who can do little or nothing for him. When our father began our department, I'm sure by that time we were thinking the product he had today were young men and young women who just wanted to learn. But today, they are consultants, they are leaders, they are captains of industry. Only remembered by what we have done. That should be a food for thought for us today. When we depart this world, what will people remember us for? Our Father has done his bit and has exited, and we are all pained. Okay. We are all pained. So beyond today, beyond now, as we live our lives, it should always be at the back of our mind.
Thank you very much. Second Bible reading, John 10:10. The thief cometh not, but for to steal, and to kill, and to destroy. I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly. Thank you.
The third hymn for this evening, Immortal, Invisible, God, Only Wise. The choir. Thank you very much, the choir. The next lesson for this program is going to be taken by our brother, Mr. Uyagu.
Thank you very much. The third Bible reading, Jeremiah 29, verse 11. For I know the thoughts that I think towards you, said the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this point in time, we'll take tributes from staff of Family Medicine Department. I want to call on Dr. V. Abba for her tribute.
Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you all to this day of tributes with the highest esteem. I stand here today with a heavy heart because we would have loved to be doing this like in 20 years from now. We had thought we would have Dr. Uyagu with us for that long. I remember sometime recently, me and HOD were joking, and he said, "You'll soon become an ancestor." And I said, "No way. I'm going to have at least 20 years before I will join that rank." Because in family medicine, we call our LDs, most senior family physicians who started the program around the country, ancestors. Little did I know that 20 years time I was hoping for would be closed down to just a few months. Dr. Uyagu was the HOD that brought me to family medicine. In 2001, when we came, we were just a few of us. The first thing we noticed about the man was his approachability. Simple. "Oh, come in, how are you? Yes, this is what you do, this is what you don't do." There was nothing like all those, that air of your boss that makes it difficult for you to approach him. So he got us to the department, he guided us through. He was a gentleman. He was a good man, a God-fearing man, who truly had a simple approach to life. Simply do good, and good will return to you. He loved to support and encourage us. He will support you that your exam is coming, you have to work hard, and he wasn't going to compromise that. I remember very clearly, despite the fact there were very few in the department and we had to prepare for exams, he would still insist, "Abba, where are you? There are patients here. Chief, the road is blocked." He said, "No, but these patients have to be seen." That was the era of Uselu River. And he would still insist, "Sorry, you have to manage. I know it's tough, but these patients have to be seen." He was passionate about the patients and their well-being. And he cared about the fact that we're going through so much stress to balance both service and our academics. So he was supportive. He was a caring man. And he shared our joys, he shared our sorrows. When we had our difficulties, he listened. And when we made our successes, he was overjoyed. He shared our joys and our successes. He was proud of what the department was turning into. He was not one to hold on to power. I remember as soon as I qualified, he quickly said, "You're going to take over as HOD." The management said, "She's too young, she doesn't know the ropes of the management of the UBTH management yet." That's how eager he was to bring us on board. And even when we came with our ideas and the temperament that was so different from his, I am more of somebody who wants to push things and get things done right now, not tomorrow, now. But he stood by, he encouraged me, he cautioned me, and he supported our success. And what he did made it possible for us to grow the department of family medicine. And he took our joys and our successes as his own, which was rightfully his own, because it was his support that made it possible. family medicine department today is what it is. And we have the products that we have all over the world because of who he was. He was not one to shove it down your throat and say, look, I'm the boss. We are just this little girl that just came up yesterday. So that laid a tradition of growth, a tradition of support along the hierarchy in the department. We wish he was still here today, and we'll miss him greatly. We'll do everything that we can to immortalize his name in the department. He deserves it. Journeying through that department's history alone for so many years was not easy for him. The battle to get us into undergraduate family medicine was a tough and tedious one. I remember always wondering at him, after one meeting or the other, he will show me the proposal he has been writing and sending over again to Uniben, and getting promises but no fulfillment. And yet, he never became bitter or angry one day. He always said, Abba, don't worry. One day, when it is God's time, this thing will materialize. And today, eventually it turned out to be right, because eventually it has almost materialized completely, but at least we have gone a long way. So we thank him for his resilience, we thank him for his support, we thank him for being open to growth and development, for allowing young people to come on board and to grow. That is a huge legacy in my own sight. That made him a very great man for us, because the seed he planted today has grown to a big tree and a big family. And indeed we celebrate his life and the times that he spent on this earth. We thank him with all of our hearts. We wish that really he had been here, around here for so much longer, so that we would have been able to show him how much we loved and appreciated him. But we thank God, because God knows best. He has decided when it was time, and I believe with all my heart that he is in heaven. Because I know a good man who feared the Lord, despite our inadequacies, should be in heaven. So I thank you all for being here today, and I thank you for joining us to say adieu to a gentle and a very good man, our trainer, our teacher, our founder, and our mentor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Truly heart-touching. We also call on the immediate past president of the World Medical Association, Dr. Osahoin Nabulili, for his tribute, sir.
So not many are as tall as this, so permit me to stand by the side. I'm not as tall as Dr. Abba, so I'm sorry, that's the reality. I will grow taller maybe in the next couple of years. Well, first let me recognize the presence of the lovely family of a living icon. He's not dead, he's living, he's still living really. A wife, a caring wife of a living icon of the family. I recognize your presence. I recognize the presence of those from management. I hope they are here. Of course, the Department of Family Medicine. Colleagues here present, seniors, colleagues here present, well-wishers, loved ones here present, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Well, it's not usual for me to read scripts. I like to say the way I see it. But on this occasion, I'd like to crave your indulgence for me to stick to what I wrote in my tribute to him. And you'll find it in the brochure. If one had been told that one would be delivering a tribute this time to a Muslim leader, altruistic medical leader, and one of the humblest personalities I've ever come across, one would have said no. This is because I never thought for once that he would bid us goodbye at the time he did. myself and the head of the department, we paid a visit to him one day after a function we had. And his usual congenial spirit gave us hope that he was going to overcome. And so we left that day with that bright hope. But unfortunately, I really struggled to accept with the sad reality that our kind and humble leader and pioneer, the primer of the Family Medicine Residency Training Program in the University of Benin Teaching Hospital is no more with us. But who are we to question our omnipotent from our very beginning? So with this realization, and despite of our Almighty Creator, a very sad loss notwithstanding, there are several stages. I'm happy to say that it does very well on every stage of life. And that is why the encomium that has been so well deposited so far is very well placed. He achieved a lot, admittedly so, in his years of terrestrial peregrination. As it is commonly said, it is not how long one lives on this earth, but how well one lives. He lived a very good life. But how does one even start to pay tribute to this uncommon and humble leader, teacher, and father, who was always prepared to nurture others? We have been told of his products who are far and wide. He was always prepared to go beyond all boundaries to seek the happiness, joy, and progress of his colleagues, friends, and family. So he was not only there for the Uyagu or the engineer or the family, he was there for everybody. That is a total man. My first close association with a departed medical elder was soon after I started my residency training program in family medicine in the year 2000. I was resting in my core duty room when I heard a knock on the door. I stood up, went close to the door, and asked who was at the door. The voice that responded turned out to be that of Dr. Damien Uyagu, who was my then head of department. You can imagine how I felt that moment. For your head of the department, why my head of department came at that time of the day to see a young resident doctor. I was of Edo State branch of Nigerian Medical Association, Edo NMA, and that he wanted me, young me, to be his campaign manager and coordinator. When I asked why he chose me, he replied that he had heard a lot about my political sagacity, my popularity and exploits, and that he would be glad if I could help him organize and penetrate the minds of Edo NMA members and voters. I was still struggling to come to terms with the fact that the man that was high up there was talking to little me. Truly, I found this encounter not only humbling, but one that cemented my association with him all through the rest period of his life. Indeed, it inspired me to commit myself to the electoral task by ensuring that he overwhelmingly won the election, despite being regarded as a dark horse in the race for the chairmanship seat. I'm sure a lot of us who were around that period will understand what I'm talking about. As it also happened at a later time, I found myself again as his neighbor in the UBTH quarters. And I'm sure mommy will readily understand what I'm saying. Though I never took this for granted, I must admit it created opportunity for closer ties between our families, as we could sometimes be in each other's house late into the night. That was the kind of person he is. He had no hubris at all. It was so simple. I mean, we could chat late into the night. That was my head of department, my senior colleague. And so I term him simplicity and humility personified. A very frank, honest, dedicated, and congenial leader who was always full of wisdom There is no time you are with Dr. Uyagu that you will not take away one or two positive ideas. Soft-spoken, kind, and it gives you something to go away with. I note that despite his enviable attainments, unlike many we have these days in our society, I mean, the moment you just arrive, nobody hears anything again. They are so boisterous. Patrons. On behalf of my family, patrons. On behalf of my family, I want to offer our deepest and sincere condolences to his dear wife and his very lovely family, friends and loved ones. I want to pray God to comfort every one of us, particularly the family, and to grant us the fortitude and the grace to bear the irreparable loss. I want to urge us all to rise from this commendation service, to make very firm commitments to the promotion of his virtues and indelible legacies. Most of the time we come together to say good things about the departed, and soon after we step out of the door, it's all forgotten. But my clarion call today is that we should rise from here to begin to think of what we can do to project those virtues. Not only sermonize them, but to give total expression to those virtues and values. And so I say, sir, you may be gone, and indeed I do not think he is dead. Good people like that never die. They live on in our hearts. In fact, he's here with us right now. If you turn left, you'll see him. If you turn right, you'll see him. If you look at me, you'll see him. He's here with us. He's not gone. I want to assure you, sir, that I'll do our best possible to sustain your legacies. Your memories surely shall linger on in our hearts. Good night, sir. Our redoubtable medical elder, our indefatigable pioneer trainer, a man of indomitable will, a man of perspicacity, and a very humble leader and great Nigerian. May your gentle and inimitable soul, great soul, rest in perfect peace. God bless us all.
Thank you very much, sir. Our immediate past president of the WMA, Dr. Usawin Abulile. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, at this point, we wish to crave your indulgence to allow us accept one or two goodwill messages from persons that are joining us virtually. Calling in virtually is SOFCON National President.
So that I can also keep to time. A tribute to a bosom friend and colleague, Dr. Damien David Uyagu. The transition of my dear friend Dave, who I formerly called Didi, came to me as a shock. Though we saw it coming, perhaps acting in denial, we had hoped that he would still linger a little longer. The last time I saw him, a couple of weeks before his demise, it was obvious that living for him had become a struggle. Courageously, he fought on, holding on to life with a characteristic display of equanimity, even in the face of seemingly hopeless situation. We shared a lot of precious time together as colleagues with common passion on many areas, the most important of which was our shared passion for the development of family medicine in Nigeria. As a pioneer fellow of family medicine by examination, we are a significant part of the struggle to build family medicine in Nigeria. The frontiers of our engagement included the two postgraduate medical colleges of West Africa and National Postgraduate, and the department at the University of Benin Teaching Hospital, UBTH. He also gave me a lot of support and encouragement during my tenure as the President of Africa Region of the World Organization of Family Doctors. We undertook several journeys together, either to go for accreditation visits of one training center or the other, or to go for examinations of either the West Africa College of Physicians or the National Postgraduate Medical College of Nigeria. Dave was always such a fun, such a calm and amiable personality and fun to be with. Our times together were always times of mutual sharing and learning from each other. One of the favorite quotes I often use to motivate my members of staff up to this day is his favorite quote. I quote, "The largest room in the world is the room for improvement." I expected his residents to finish it for me. It was one of his favorite quotes, end of quote. He will always add the rider, "There is always room for improvement." And I use this to encourage my staff up to this day. That legacy will continue because the truth will remain. I've used this quote on countless occasions to inspire my own workers to push on for excellence. He had a unique sense of humor. On one occasion, when we traveled to the eastern part of the country together for accreditation, he held on to a book, one of the books of Robert Kiyosaki, with the title, Retire Young, Retire Rich. I teased him saying, I can see your latest ambition. You want to retire young, you want to retire rich. He replied with his characteristic sense of humor by saying, there is only one of the options available now. There's only one of the options available for me now. We both laughed, as it was obvious he couldn't retire young anymore, but he could retire rich. I believe he did that. Like many of the pioneer resident doctors in family medicine, he demonstrated his readiness to pay whatever price was required to get the work done. On one occasion, when we went together for accreditation to Uyagu, he offered to drive us in his old Mercedes-Benz car. Can you imagine driving all the way to Uyagu? We set out on the journey with the hope that we have the time fully under our control and we'll be able to get back in time. No, don't worry. Thanks. I can manage. The fuel pump failed and we had to spend time to get it fixed. Needless to say, the time was no longer under our control, which was the reason why we decided to drive. That was characteristic of the kind of sacrifice he was ready to make for the development of family medicine. He was ready to put in himself and his resources. Great sacrifice. Besides the examination and accreditation assignments of the colleges, we shared other moments together as friends. Many of such moments were always times of mutual sharing of ideas and learning from each other, as I said earlier. While he was still an ardent tennis player, he used to be a very good tennis player, he invited me to join him. I declined. I told him my interest was to play golf. At that time, because I felt golf was meant for the direction I was going, tennis was meant for the past. He eventually became very passionate about the game of golf. He eventually switched over from tennis and took on to golf before me that advertised golf to him. And me, I'm still in this phase of contemplation. He eventually became very passionate about the game and now took on the task of getting me to get started. He nearly succeeded when, as chairman of the UBTH Golf Club, he got me to register as a member. I went a few times, but I've not been able to keep pace with what was required to become an excellent golfer as he was. But he never gave up. In fact, even after his death, a mutual friend of ours, Paul Dieye, reminded us, oh, golf. Remember, he became symbolic of it. On his part, he was always ready to take every opportunity to extract from me tips on leadership and managerial skills. I took from him and he took from me, which he felt were my strong areas. He was particularly keen on developing skills for setting up organizational systems to ensure autopilot of our enterprises. And we shared it happily together. I enjoyed working with him as head of the Department of Family Medicine during my stint as a part-time consultant in the department. Dave's amiable and fatherly disposition made the department a pleasurable place to work, both for the resident doctors and the consultants. In my numerous role as chairman, Faculty of Family Medicine, National Postgraduate College, as president, Society of Family Medicine of Nigeria, and then as president of the Africa region of the World Organization of Family Doctors, Dave stood firmly by me as a reliable ally to ensure my success in all the assignments. He, his wife, and mother were loyal clients of the eye department of Echoes Hospital for several years. I will certainly miss him and our times together, but I'm consoled by the life that he lived, a positively impactful life, and made worthwhile contribution to this nation, especially in the development of family medicine in UBTH and beyond. On behalf of myself, my family, and the Echoes Hospital family, I wish to express our heartfelt condolences to the family, the Department of Family Medicine, UBTH, and the entire family medicine specialty in Nigeria. May the soul of our departed friend and colleague rest in perfect peace. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, sir. All right, at this point, we'll now take our tribute from the SOFPON National President, Dr. Blessing Chukwukulu. Why the technical team is still trying to fix it? We're having issues with sound. We'll call on
just a very short time to say anything, but I just want to say, it's like say goodbye to my dad, because Dr. Uyagu was my dad, kind of. All right, so Ragbai, he always calls me when I see him. So I don't know what I have been dreading this to see what I need to say. This time is not enough for me to say anything, but I want to just say farewell, and I want to say thank you, thank you. Blinko, Ike, even though you're my forever brothers. Right.
But we have her tribute here, which I will read on her behalf. Tribute to Dr. Damien Uyagu. Indeed, we are in a pilgrimage passing through the surface of the earth and will only be remembered by what we have done. The death of Dr. D.D. Uyagu, a staunch member of SOFPON, came as a rude shock when it was announced, but we were consoled by the good works he would be remembered for. He was a medical icon in general, and more especially to family medicine specialty. He was a jolly good fellow, friend from my personal experience, a man of joy that was deeply rooted in him and radiating to affect everyone around him. He was a man of many parts whose experience traverses many spheres of life. I remember how he used to tell me of his dogs and how they were fed. I have dogs too, so he would always update me about them, the kind of food that they receive and the kind of care that he provided for them. This was when we used to meet at fellowship exams. He was a doctor to be emulated because he had the complete attributes of a well-groomed family physician. Dr. Uyagu was the foundation and founding HOD of the Department of Family Medicine, University of Benin Teaching Hospital, and he left a legacy that formed the foundation of the successes being recorded at the department since his tenure ended. He was a role model, a mentor to so many family physicians, home and abroad, and a trainer of trainers. Today, we gather to celebrate his legacy. You came, you saw, and you conquered. On behalf of the National ESCO and entire SOFPON members, I express our most sincere condolences to Dr. Uyagu's family and the medical community whose lives have been touched by him. The entire Society of Family Physicians of Nigeria, SOFPON, will miss you. We pray God to be with the family and friends you have left behind. Adieu, a great family physician. Adieu, a great SOFPON member. Adieu, a great mentor and teacher. You were truly an icon. Dr. Blessing Chikolu, SOFPON President. Thank you. We now make welcome Dr. Pius Ifijen for his goodwill message.
D.D. Uyagu. I acknowledge the presence of the wife, the family, and our father in family medicine here present, Dr. Moti Obaze. We call him father, others call him grandfather, some others call him great-grandfather. As far as we are concerned, it's an ancestor, a living ancestor. Welcome, sir. I acknowledge the presence of all others. I met Dr. Uyagu for the first time in the early 90s, 1991 or 92. I want to digress a little bit of history. Before the creation of Edo Delta was Bender, I was working as a medical officer in Uyeli General Hospital. We had a surgeon there that was very good, very charismatic. So I wanted to read surgery. He found out that I wanted to read surgery and called me, said, Ifije, come. you want to be a surgeon? I said, yes, sir. He smiled and looked at me. He said, if I were you, I'll read general practice. That was the first time I got exposed to family medicine. Edo Delta was created, found myself in Benin City, working in GOPD, General Outpatient Department. I saw 4 doctors after working hours, confined together as if they were studying. So I called one of our colleagues and said, who be these guys? What did they do? Say, they are doing family medicine. They are doing general practice. Really? I said, I'm interested. I went to him. He was there, Dr. Uyagu, Igbinehi, that owns a hospital down there, Dr. Imomo, and another doctor, forgotten his name now. So I went to them and said, look, I'm interested in family, in general practice. He was the one that said, if you are interested, please come. I had no primaries, I've not done any of the exams. He told me what and what to do. It's like holding the hand of a child and teaching him how to walk. Of course, with the creation of states, he went to Delta States, went to Warri, then ended up here in UBTH. During that period, we were working in the dark in Central Hospital. Myself and a colleague of mine who is late now. We are doing the program without a trainer, without a teacher, without somebody to guide us. So when he came back to Benin, UBTH, we were so excited. We went to him and said, welcome back. We will really need your presence. And you make use of it. He now told us, gave us tips about how to go about it. And instructed us, look, if you want to do it, now that you have nobody directly taking care of you in the department, make sure you attend all updates. Make sure you attend all workshops, no matter where they are. That's why we found ourselves taking journeys to Abeokuta, Port Harcourt, Calabar, Lagos, Ibadan. That's to show you the kind of person he is. Always wanting to move people forward. After my part 1, before I now got to meet my daddy, Dr. Matthew Obaze. Brethren, you must touch somebody if you want to leave a legacy in this world. You must hold the hands of others and move them up. If when I went to him, I wanted to do family medicine, he said, Abed, please, I don't have your time. Maybe I wouldn't have been a family physician today. But he was there to support, to guide. So I want to encourage all of us, reach out and touch somebody's hands. When you find yourself in a position where you can help others, you don't wait for them to ask. Reach out, grab their hands, draw them up. Move them up. It won't take anything out of you. I retired from Central Hospital as a chief consultant in family medicine. It didn't take anything out of Dr. Didi Uyagu. See, never dry. Giving this tribute to him, I want to enjoy everybody here present. Don't allow his legacy to dry. Touch people. Let them feel your presence. Be a turning point in their life that can lead them up. That's why I love this song by, I think, Diana Ross. Maybe he said, reach out and touch somebody's hands. Make this world a better place. If you care, reach out and touch somebody's hands. Make this world a better place. If you care. Uyagu reached out and touched me. Reach out and touch others. God bless you.
Thank you very much, sir. We'll now take some good tributes from our the aspirants that are joining us online.
It seems that this is just a very short time to say anything, but I just want to say, like saying goodbye to my dad, because Dr. Uyagu was my dad. Thank you. Alright, so like bye, so you always hold when I see you. So I don't know, I have been very what I can say. This time it's not going to be but I want to just say farewell, and I want to say thank you. Rinko, I keep you my forever brother. I take care.
Hello, and look at my glory and wish some good life and times of a closest and constant gentleman. The leading fellow to all, Dr. Damien saying, I joined the Department of Family Medicine in First Degree Teaching Hospital as a resident. On April 1st, 2013, whilst he was the head of the department, and he came across as a compassionate leader. He had his aura and gravitas, his personality was so inspiring. The main activity here today testament to his vivacity, for although he had a very calm and practical being, he had this boisterous personality. He was a really jolly good fellow. He was a sagacious man, and he was wise as a sage. And the same attribute we see today in the same with all this Uyagu. Indeed, the Family Medicine Department in Visibility Hospital is blessed to have a transnational transfer of godly attributes. We see that with the Bazos, with the Kubangers, and although the legend has departed, we gladly have his son, the producer, able to carry on the legacy. I pray that the Lord will grant all men with strength and fortitude to bear his loss, and that he will continuously live in our minds and memories forever. God bless you all. Indeed, it is Lord of righteous.
Good afternoon, my name is Dr. Uyagu. I'm a consultant family physician, fellow of the Medical College of Family Medicine, and I'm currently based in the UK. It was such a shock learning about the passing of our very former HOD and trainer, Dr. Uyagu. He was indeed a father to all of us in the family medicine department. And being a pioneer, HOD training don't have been an easy task setting up the department, but he kept it up, and the department is what it is today, largely due to his efforts. And being a pioneer trainer, he was a trainer of trainers. And for me, I started out as a medical officer in the department, and Dr. Uyagu was one of those that facilitated my becoming a resident, and he supervised my work, and today I'm a consultant family physician. So you can see without him, I won't be who I am today. He was a father figure who was always ready to listen when we had concerns, and we surely miss him. The entire family medicine department miss him. I'd like to extend my sincere condolences to Mr. Uyagu, to my colleague Ulisse, and the entire Uyagu family. This is really a huge loss. And I also want to extend my condolences to the entire family medicine department too, because this is a loss for us as well. We however take solace in the fact that he's in a better place. May his soul rest in peace. Amen.
Currently online is Professor Damien, a very close friend of our departed.
Someone
Who helps you to chart your path when you suddenly find yourself on an uncharted sea? That person, to me, was Dr. Uyagu. And my encounter with him was in 2005 when I came in for my residency training. When he called me on the phone to inform me that the interview date had been set, mind you, I never knew him from Adam, but he saw my application and he called me, and the first thing he said was, "Joseph, how are you doing?" He asked about my welfare before he told me, before he asked me, "Did you apply for residency in family medicine?" I said, "Yes." "Okay, your interview is so and so date." The truth is that if he had not called me, I would have probably been on my way back to Kebbi State, where I did my NYSC. And in most parts of the road and in most locations back then, there were no networks. So I'm sure if he hadn't called me that early, I would have missed the chance to perhaps be a family physician. Maybe I would have been someone else. So Dr. Uyagu retraced my path. He gave me this path that I am now, and I'm very grateful to him. He's a source of inspiration and guidance. My mentor is indeed a true mentor. Even when you perform badly, he brings out the good in that bad situation, and he encourages you to improve and make adjustments so that you can be a better person. Through his actions and his achievements, he has shown me that nothing was impossible, and that I could actually push beyond my limit and find certain success. He believed in my potential, and that instilled in me the confidence to strive for greatness. Dr. Uyagu told me after my part 1, he said, "With the same energy with which you pass this part 1, use that same energy to pursue your part 2. And that was what I did. Although my proposal had issue at the beginning, he reassured me that it was a common thing and that I just needed to look forward and make adjustments. One of the greatest gifts that my mentor bestowed upon me was his unwavering belief in my abilities. He empowered me to step outside of my comfort zone, even to take necessary risk and then to forge ahead. When I chose another topic for my proposal, because the first one was rejected, the topic looked a little bit unclear, but he asked me if I was sure that was the topic I wanted. I said yes, and he encouraged me to move ahead. That was a risk I took, but it was worthwhile. He gave me the courage to overcome obstacles, and even if I had setbacks, he encouraged me to always step ahead. My mentor, Dr. Uyagu, was indeed like a father to me. I remember when I just came, my dad was worried because I am the kind of person who never really left home. Maybe NYSC was the first time I left home, and I was now coming to Benin. My father was like, "Oh, you have an uncle somewhere. Okay, make sure you always check on him." Then he called my uncle always to check on me, but after a while I called my dad and said, "No, there's no need for that. My HOD is more or less like my uncle here, so really shouldn't worry about that." And that was it. I could discuss anything with him, and he would pay attention. Anything whatsoever that bothered me, he was ready to listen. He's such a person to me that he placed me on his shoulder, as it were, to make me taller than I am actually was and I am. And so I will always remember him for that. The impact of my mentor's guidance is far beyond the realm of knowledge transfer. His unwavering support has fostered a sense of belief in me, and that sense of belief has stayed with me throughout my career up to this time. It shaped my professional values. It shaped the way I reason. It shaped the way I think. and he also shaped the way I view others. Because Dr. Uyagu is someone that he never used abusive expressions on anyone. If anyone in this hall has heard him use abusive expressions, please raise up your hand, if any. I doubt you will ever find. Because we have had some residents sometimes who are very strange in behavior. Dr. Uyagu never used insulting words. He never insulted anybody. The strongest word he used in my memory, I could remember, he said, "This resident is very slippery." That means that, okay, you want to catch him here, instead of dodge like this and like that. So he said very slippery. He never used abusive expression, never. As if those expressions never existed in his dictionary. But they were there, but he never used them. And I vowed to emulate him, that I would never do that. I think to the best of my knowledge, I may have. But if I haven't, please forgive me if I've fallen short of the standard that he set, because he set a standard, and that standard, honestly, is difficult to beat. So I really wish to express my sincere condolence to his beautiful wife. Behind every successful man is a woman. If you have seen Dr. Uyagu work with him, you know that his wife is exactly like him. I also express my sincere condolence to Dr. Uyagu and the other siblings who are here, the IT specialists, the engineer, all of them are all here. I want to wish that God will grant you the fortitude to bear the loss. He is a God of comfort. He will comfort you at this time. But be rest assured that he's not anywhere suffering. He is sleeping, as Jesus said. He's gone to rest, waiting for the resurrection. So all we need to do is to do our best to be in God's favor. Please continue to accept my sincere condolence, and I pray that God will help each and every one of us to continue to endure this loss and to forge ahead for a brighter future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We now call on the State Chairman, Edo NMA, Dr. Eustace Osegale, for his goodwill message.
Protocol, I must acknowledge past Chairman Edo, Nigerian Medical Association, Edo State, right here. Our World Medical Association leader, Dr. Samuel Nabulile, our National Financial Secretary, Dr. Harrison Omokwa. Yes, it's still a very painful moment for me, but really, seeing so many people that we've not gathered like this in a pit, it brings back memories. But really, I must also acknowledge Dr. Mokwa, past chairman, Nigerian Medical Association of the State, and National Financial Secretary, my mother, Mrs. Uyagu. Good afternoon, ma'am. My brothers, Olise, Ike, and Ebunu. I must say here that I'm here in two capacities, really. I'm here as a son of Dr. Damien Uyagu, because I grew up in his house, and I'm also here in the capacity of NMA chairman. In the capacity of NMA chairman, definitely I'm not overwhelmed. But as a son of Dr. Uyagu, I must say that I feel very, very, very unhappy. But I'm consoled by the fact that Dr. Uyagu is not gone. The legacies he left behind are mammoth. Because the legacies he left behind are mammoth, he lives with us. The positive activities, the positive strides, and everything, he lives with us. For some of us who grew up with him, he taught us the tenets of giving. He taught us the tenets of generosity. I remember he told me at Okoroni, because he worked at the time in General Hospital Oromi. All through, every moment I shared with Dr. Uyagu, there was love, there was generosity. And some of those principles of give and givers never lack that he shared with me is some of those principles guide me till today. And I'm very glad my brothers and sons took those principles from their father. They give, they share. And thank God, because daddy was like that, they've never lacked, and by God's grace we will never lack. I must also mention here that the tenets of medical unionism and activism, we learned it from Dr. Damien Uyagu in his parlor, right there in his parlor. He taught us, but he never forced his way. He told us the truth, but never forced it down on us. He told us this is the truth, and that's how it's supposed to be. But he didn't force it down on us. And growing up, I learned that you could actually tell people the truth, and they see it, and they grow, and they learn it. You don't really have to force the truth down people's throat. That was how Dr. Uyagu was. He had a passion for the calling. He had a passion for medicine. For Dr. Uyagu, being a doctor was not a source of livelihood. For Dr. Uyagu, being a doctor was a calling. He treated not just his patients, he was interested in their source of livelihood. He was interested in their family. I must say, he was a true family physician. He was interested in their family, and so doing, he earned the love and respect of his friends, patients alike. In the golf course, Dr. Uyagu was the man to behold. Beyond the game of golf, he solved problems sitting right there in the golf course. Marital issues, he resolved. Academic issues, he resolved. I remember several of his residents had to go and discuss even their matrimonial issues with him at odd hours there. And he resolved the issues. Again, I must say, in medical entrepreneurship, he stood out. For those of us who have been to Radiance, we know how Radiance started and what Radiance has become. And for some of us that are younger, much younger, we have a shining example to copy. For some of us that are lucky or are luckier, we grew, we saw him, he mentored us directly. So the shining example, we saw it grow. We saw kindness. And going back to the story of Radiance, many people got care at no cost, but the hospital grew, which says a lot. It's a hard thing to add together. You treat people freely, but the hospital is booming. How Dr. Uyagu did it sometimes, I wonder. I must say that Dr. Uyagu, it's painful that he's not here with us, but from the good deeds, from our archives in the Nigerian Medical Association, we had a wonderful leader in Dr. Uyagu. From his children, you see that a man who loved his family and took good care of his children. From his neighbors, his residents, the love they pour on him, you will see that Dr. Uyagu lived a good life. So I don't think Dr. Uyagu is gone. I think he's still with us because his good deeds will continue to live on. And my dear brothers, we are together. Please once more accept our condolences from the Nigerian Medical Association of this state, where your father led. Your father will continue to live on, and his legacies will continue to enjoy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Eustace of Segale, State Chairman Edo Enemi. We now call on Dr. Akpan Iboro for her tribute. 2 minutes, please. Dr. Akpan Iboro.
Protocol. I'm here to present a tribute to a mentor who was so impactful to me as we all know, or some of us, we know, I came into the Department of Family Medicine as a youth copper, was well received by Dr. Uyagu. From there, I picked up interest in family medicine and I started my residency. He was right there to give me and all of us the support that we needed. He mentored us, he groomed all of us, and as I've heard other people speak about him, he will never be harsh to you. He always see the positive side of everyone and encourage you to express your potential and tell you that there's no height you can reach in life. So he was a wonderful person to me particularly and to the entire Department of Family Medicine. So as I read what I put down for Dr. Uyagu, I tagged it, Light That Continues to Shine. A tribute to my mentor. In the landscape of mentorship, you were a transformative force who saw boundless potential where others perceive only limitations. Your wisdom transcended traditional teaching, revealing how to approach challenges with creativity, maintain grace under pressure. That's very true because regardless of the stress in the department, you wouldn't even see him tense, not in his speech, not in his body language. And he elevated others while advancing personally. Your legacy lives in the profound lesson you impacted, not just of academic knowledge, but of human resilience, integrity, and compassionate leadership. He was a true leader. Even in the moments of difficulty, you demonstrated how to fall forward with dignity, learn continuously, and preserve one's humanity through life's competition. So, some of the residents, some of us that had some challenges, maybe in one exam or the other, when we sit down to talk with you for a while, and encourage you, you see more reason to forge ahead. That's who he was to all of us. Your teachings were a seed of understanding, planted carefully, designed to bloom long after our paths, our direct interactions. Rest in peace, dear mentor. Your legacy in the heart and the actions of those whose lives you profoundly touch lives on. We love you. And we pray that the good Lord will grant your family and us as a department the fortitude to bear this loss. Thank you very much.
We just have 25 minutes more to spend. Quickly, we call Dr. Harrison Omohua, National Financial Secretary, Nigerian Medical Association, for his good message. 1 minute, sir.
Distinguished medical elders, permit me to observe the established protocol. I crave your indulgence to quickly recognize the immediate past president of the World Medical Association, Dr. Nambule Leosan. My greetings, sir. I may not have had the relationships that have been described here by the various persons who have come to give tribute. I wasn't his direct student in terms of residency, but I had two relationships. One, because he was the father of my dear friend, Dr. Olise Blinko, and of course, a few encounters when I was chairman, Nigerian Medical Association at the state branch. My relationships in these two instances formed
what I quickly put down as my tribute. It is with deep respect and admiration that I honor Dr. Damien David Uyagu, a trailblazer in the field of medicine, whose dedication, knowledge, and compassion have not only shaped countless careers, but have also profoundly impacted the lives of so many patients. Dr. Uyagu has always exemplified the highest standards of medical practice, combining expertise with a genuine commitment to improving the well-being of others. With decades of experience, his contributions have reached far beyond patients' care. As a mentor and educator to so many, he guided and inspired countless colleagues, young doctors, and healthcare professionals to strive for excellence in their own practice. Through his leadership, Dr. Uyagu did not only advance clinical aspects of medicine, but he also played an integral role in developing innovative healthcare solutions and fostering a culture of collaboration and integrity within the medical community. His legacy is not only defined by his exceptional skills, but also by humanity he brought to every aspect of his work, always reminding us that medicine is not just about treating diseases, but about caring for people. Daddy, your guidance, dedication, and passion continue to inspire us, and we are fortunate to have had the privilege of working alongside you. The entire body of NMA and indeed the UBTH environment will certainly continue to miss you. Rest on that. Adieu, Papa. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our National Financial Secretary, Dr. Harrison Omoko. Quickly, we want to call Professor Adanyafo Egiato, Head of Department Mental Health, UBTH. 1 minute, sir.
Well, let me special greetings to Mrs. Uyagu and indeed his children. So I stand on the existing protocol. I got to be very close to Dr. Uyagu after I retired from the University of Benin Teaching Hospital. And I feel happy to be called upon this evening to give a tribute. Indeed, I had made very serious efforts to be at the Grey Lakers, but for some reasons, I couldn't get there that day. At some point, I had to turn back, so I was particularly very glad when I got to know that, this kind of program was planned and is being executed just now. It is with a deep sense of loss and perfect, serious heartfelt reflection that I pay tribute to the life and legacies of Dr. David Uyagu, a dedicated family physician who served in the Department of Family Medicine, University of Benin Teaching Hospital, flawlessly. Dr. Uyagu was more than a senior colleague. He was a friend, a mentor, and a father figure to me and many others. His unwavering commitment to patients, both in his official capacity and through his thriving private practice, was a testament to his passion for medicine and his deep compassion for humanity. I fondly recall the times he invited me to review patients with mental health and addiction challenges, especially at his private practice. These moments were not just professional collaborations, but they became opportunities for me to witness his exceptional ethical standards, principled nature, and profound respect for the dignity of every individual. His approach to patient care was guided by a rare combination of clinical expertise and a deeply spiritual and peaceful demeanor that left a lasting impact on all who encountered him. Dr. Uyagu was a man of peace, a devoutly spiritual individual whose life was a reflection of his faith. He carried himself with humility, kindness, and a quiet strength that inspired those around him. His passing is a great loss to the medical community, his family, and all those who had the privilege of knowing him. While we mourn his departure, we also must celebrate a life well lived, one that touched countless lives and left an indelible mark on the practice of medicine and the hearts of those he served. May his gentle soul rest in perfect peace, and may God be with his wife and children. And the family must find solace in the legacies of love and integrity he has left behind. Adieu, Dr. Uyagu. You will be greatly missed, but fondly remembered forever. With heartfelt condolences. Professor Uyagu Adanyofo. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Adanyofo. Quickly, I want to call on Dr. Osaze Obaze, Postgraduate Coordinator, Family Medicine Department, UBTH.
I'd like to stand on existing protocol. I didn't really plan to speak initially, but because of the unique relationship I shared with Dr. Uyagu, I felt I should say a few words. You know, a lot of people who have been speaking have been speaking professionally, you know, what they knew about him, more in the public space than at work. I, myself and Eustace, the NMA chairman, we actually grew up, I can say I lived with him. You know, in medical school, I think from my second year, I moved into doctor's quarters and I was his tenant. So the sons lived in one room, I lived in one room, and Eustace lived in the third room. There were 3 rooms there, and that was how we grew up. So I practically lived in his house, you know, and he was extremely free, so it wasn't the kind of house that, in fact, I don't think I've seen any house like that, extremely free. You know, I used to go to his house, we'd go upstairs, almost go into his room, you know, and you eat in his house. I grew up under him, so I had that personal relationship. I knew him both professionally and at home. And when people say he's a mentor, I can say he was a mentor. He had 3 major parts that I picked from him. He was a complete family man, you know, so you see him at home. I mean, we used to talk with the children, talk with us, counsel us. Like you used to say, he'll bring you to his parlor, he will advise you. We were in medical school, but he took us as junior colleagues. You know, there was no gap. He talked to us as medical students. I don't even know if we had done a second MB then. So, but he would talk to you like a man to man, you know, and so he was a family man. That was one of the aspects I got from him. He was an astute clinician and professional, like we have all said. You know, like Dr. Ajokpa said, you will never hear him raising his voice. He said you never hear him abusing abusive words. I never heard him raise his voice. I wrote that in my tribute. You will never hear him raise his voice, not to talk of using abusive words. But he was firm. You know, when I was doing my psychiatric my anesthesia posting, I had some challenges there, and he called me to his office and said that they are written that you didn't complete your posting, you have to go back. And it was a mix-up, but in spite of the close relationship we had, he didn't interfere, so I got that professionalism from him, leadership too at the HOD. Then he was also a man of extracurricular activities, the Rotary Club, his spirituality, golf, lawn tennis initially. So I got that balanced life from him, being a family man, being a professional, and having extracurricular activities, and also being able to be calm, being able to lead and to guide. So I just felt I should reiterate what everybody has been saying, but from a personal note, growing up under his roof, growing up in his house, and I want to commiserate with the family, my brothers, and my mother, and I want to pray that God will give them the fortitude to bear the loss and help all of us to live and remember his legacy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now call on Dr. Esenalume. 1 minute, please. 60 seconds.
Good evening, everyone present here. Special greetings to the Uyagu's family. I'm Dr. Esenalume Vivian. I'm in Family Medicine Department, UBTH. When I started as a resident in 2011, I was saying, what kind of specialty did I come to? Specialty of everything. You need to know things in medicine, you need to know things in surgery, you need to know things in pediatrics. When I will present, other consultants will say, this woman, what are you presenting? But Oga as the head, so don't worry, she's learning. He was very humane. He was a kind man, simple, compassionate. I was with him in his last moments. Even in his dying bed, he was elegant. He was calm. There's a professor that came to review him, Professor Dice. He was talking to Mommy. He said, Mommy, you know your husband taught a lot of us, but we are doing all the best to care for him. So, Mommy, children, please take solace that Daddy has gone to be with the Lord. Mommy is so pathetic. Even at the gravesite, you can see how she was arranging the wreath placed on the gravesite. Mommy, God will help you. Children, please don't forget Mother. Take her close. Let her be with you. For the Department of Family Medicine, we have lost a real gem. It will forever echo in our hearts. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Esenalume. We now call on Mrs. Ojebumbo on behalf of Public Health/GPC Nurses, UBTH.
Good evening, everyone. I'm standing on the existing protocol. I'm here representing the Department of Public Health Nursing in GPC, both the ones that are still practicing and the retired ones, to commiserate to the family of the Uyagus. I worked with late Dr. Damien, David Uyagu, when he was HOD of Family Medicine, as the coordinator of a general practice clinic, and I had a personal encounter with him. I had a memorable period with him. He was a very hardworking person, and not only that, he was very passionate about his calling. And apart from that, he was always also very close to my late husband. He was his very close friend before he passed on. One thing I can never forget about Dr. Uyagu, there was never a time he consulted without wearing his lab coat. He was always well dressed. And he come to work very early to see his patient, ever well dressed. I can never take that away from my encounter with late Dr. Uyagu. I also want to thank God for the life he lived. He lived well. And I also want to condole mommy. Please, it's part of life. There's no one that comes to life that will not go. All of us, we all have at different times that we're going to go. And we thank God for the life he lived. He never buried any of his children. So we thank God for a life well lived. May God comfort this family and the Department of Family Medicine. Thank you all.
Thank you, Lord. We call on from the family Mrs. Ngozi Uyagu to come for her tribute.
Good evening, everybody. Standing on the existing protocol, I want to pay a special tribute to I call him my most distinguished able in-law. My parents loved him so much that never a time that they talked with me that they would not ask if I have seen them, because the wife is my first cousin. The father is my mother's immediate senior. So we're that close. And he distinguished himself as an able in-law to my family, the extended family. In fact, he had a clinic in my village as well. He was a very dedicated in-law, and I always think of him whenever there's any issue before me. Think of him with this very word he says all the time: the largest room in creation is the room for improvement. So whenever I have any, I will say, my able-in-law told me things will improve. So I just forge on. I miss him greatly. I miss his jokes. I miss his commitment to my family. In fact, my daughter is also a family doctor because of his mentorship. When my daughter wanted to go abroad, he was the only one that encouraged me, because being an only child, everybody didn't want her to go. But Dr. Uyagu encouraged me, and today I'm so happy my daughter is doing well in Ireland. I'm also happy to be here to hear all the things they have been saying about him. There are things I already knew, but I didn't know so many people knew them. I thank you all for coming, and I'm happy that you all are committed to making his legacy live on. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
with one thing, like some of you mentioned. You can never hear or see him annoyed that he cannot control it. He controls his anger. He can never go off point, anger. And anger is something that can lead you to do things that later you start regretting. Not Uyagu. He controls his anger. If it comes to a time he cannot take it, he will just walk away. He is a colleague of mine. We worship together in the same place of worship. He loves his neighbor as himself. And it's only in so doing that you can help a lot of people. He doesn't care whether you are related to him, you are not related to him, whether people hate you, they don't hate you. As long as his ears can hear you are in trouble, Uyagu will support you. So I want us to go with that we should be calm in any situation we find ourselves. And we should love our neighbors as ourselves. By so doing, you are paving a way, a path that will lead you upwards to the light. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. We want to call on
people that have spoken today have passed through my hands too, and I felt greatly elated. But I stand here not to come talk about myself. I want to talk of this very, very important part that nobody has mentioned. The qualities of Professor Uyagu, of Dr. Uyagu that you have seen, is from his an adherent of a Grail message. And he personifies all that is taught in the Grail message. That that is what he is. And he is one of the most beautiful members. There are many of us, we are struggling, but we are not able to do what he has done. He was a beautiful human being. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. We call on our mommy, Mrs. Helen Uyagu, for her brief remarks.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, once again for being present here today. I want to especially thank the doctors from Family Medicine Department, UBTH, for the wonderful care and love they showed to my husband. They came whenever each of them heard he was ill. They would run down. They would just run down for wherever they heard. They won't go home and say, I'm coming tomorrow. They would just come down and say, I just heard. I was somewhere and I heard. And they would come. And once he hears this doctor or that doctor from family medicine has come to see him, he will say, bring him upstairs. Bring him to the room. That is when he was not able to come downstairs to see them. And they will sit around him and they will discuss with him. And they were so concerned. They will tell him, we will do this, they'll make calls, try to see what they could do for him. And then he will feel so much better when they leave. And then this particular day, like they saw or felt something was going to happen. The head of department and Dr. Mrs. Abba, they came, and some other doctors. I went to tell him, but he said he wanted to sleep. He didn't ask me to bring them upstairs. He said, I just want to sleep. And when I came to tell them, it was unlike him. So they tried to make me take them upstairs. But I said he wants, in fact, immediately he said he wanted to sleep. He just started sleeping. I said, he's asleep. And Dr. Adewale said, even if I have to take him today, I will take him to UBTH. Madam, don't worry, we'll take care of everything. We will make, there are comfortable place where you will stay. And then when I saw, then Dr. Abbas said, we are his academic children. We want to take care of him, just like you are taking care of him. Please allow us to take care of him. And so it was arranged that they should come and take him to the hospital the next day, to UBTH. And they made calls. The doctor that will come and pick him, and if he didn't need admission, they'll bring him back. They made all the arrangements. And that evening, they left. And when I went back, he was sleeping so peacefully. I didn't want to wake him up, so I let him sleep. But when I woke up in the night, he was still sleeping. I said, no, can't be sleeping so deeply. I tried to wake him, and he would wake up and he would just go back to sleep. So I quickly called Odise, and he looked at him. I said, can you take him to the hospital? I said, I can, but I'll ask him first. So I asked him, should I take you to the hospital? He didn't want to. He had gone to hospital so many times, traveled abroad and come back, went to Lagos, saw everybody. So he just wanted to be taking his drugs. And he said, I should take him. Should I take you? He said, yes. Or should I call the doctors from the hospital? He said, no, take me to the hospital, to UBTH. And so I called Dr. Joppa, I called Dr. Adewale, and that was like 2 a.m. and we quickly ran to the hospital and started making all the arrangements. And while we arrived, they were already everywhere. Until morning, they were making all the arrangements and taking care of him. And they said they will take care of him, and they really did take care of him. At the ICU, they were everywhere. The ICU people couldn't even keep them away. They would say, our Oga is there. Don't you know he's our Oga? He's there, I want to see him. And maybe it was, he told me some months earlier that his time had come, but I wouldn't hear of it. I would say, no, your time has not come. You still have a lot to do. Don't say that. And he would look at me, and I know he was allowing me to process it. So that day, on Sunday, the doctors were saying, Madam, go home, go and rest. I said, no, I won't go home. What if they prescribe some drugs? Who will buy it? Who will pay for it? And Dr. Adewale said, I'm here. Don't worry, I'm here. I will pay. I will do everything. Just go home. I'm sure they were trying to get me to leave. I said, okay. Now another prescription has come. Let me buy that one before. Let me pay for it. Let us get it before I leave. And then before I left, I told Adewale, I said, he is suffering so much. Olise is coming. When he comes, Olise will ask them to disengage the ventilator and the support. So he will go. And Adewale said, only the Almighty knows when somebody will go. And I agreed with him. But I think he heard me. I'm sure he knew. He would say to himself, oh, she has finally accepted that my time has come. And that night I went home. And at 4 a.m., he took his last breath. And when I look around, he planned everything. He planned his funeral. He planned, in fact, everything that we need, I would just turn around and he had kept the document there. Everything. And that is what gives me the strength, knowing that he knew he was going and he planned. He left everything. He planned everything. And for those of you who made, Dr. Abba said, even if he's going, we'll make it easy for him. We'll care for him. And you people did that. That is why I said I would stand up today and I would say thank you, family physicians, for being there for him while he was spending his last day. I know you'll be grateful to all of you, even while he was not conscious of where he was. When Dr. Adewale called him, he called the nickname that he used to call him. So I'm here. He tried to respond. So you were special to him. He loves you all. When these young men in the UK, Mosaze and Eustace were speaking, I got emotional because while they were growing up around us, you wouldn't know whether this was his son or this was his friend's son. They would sit in the sitting room and watch football together. And like someone said, he would get up and quietly even cross, because the whole sitting room would be filled with the young undergraduate medical students and their friends, and he will just walk quietly away to his room and leave them there. So the memories came back. And I thank every other person here present for the show of you were there for us during that 1 week period when he had to be interred. Everybody came, the place was filled up. And like my cousin who spoke, I was talking to her yesterday and she said, "Oh, you already knew him. You knew who he was." And I said, "But I'm getting to know more. Getting to know more with how can somebody just plan everything just to make sure that his family would not go through pain, unnecessary harassment and so on." Thank you very much, everybody. I also thank our members of the Braille movement for all the help and support that they gave to us by arranging the Braille funeral. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma. Finally, we now call on the head of Department Family Medicine, Dr. Adeola Folabi, to give the closing remarks.
When you are looking at your ancestors, it was great. Dr. Batista, good evening, sir. I remember discussing this with him. He said, "It's very good. Let's go ahead." Thank you very much, sir. Dr. Abba, Dr. Nabulele, Dr. Ajopa, thank you for giving your support. And when I called Dr. Efije, he said, "Oh, wonderful. Thank you very much, sir." I've been waiting for somebody to call him his name, See Never Dry. It's an assignment. Find out what it means. It's actually See Never Dry. And it can never dry. That's just the truth. It brought me to Benin. I came for an interview. I've never been to Benin. And after the interview, I said, "Sir, can I have your number?" I said, Sure, you can have it." And I left. I called you. Said, "I've submitted your name. You did very well. I'm waiting for management to call you." I came. Somebody told me, "Either you have hearing problem." I said, "There's no space." And one afternoon, I saw my phone ringing. Dr. Uyagu. I picked. He said, he will call me my full name. Adewale Afolabi Joseph. He later added another name, Uyagu. And when I saw him the last time, I said, "See never dried." He looked at me. Actually, I know. They said strong men are not always strong. But the good thing is that the work he has planted is still growing, and it will continue to grow. He said something. Nobody should mourn him. How can you mourn somebody who has planted himself before he left? There is nobody that will talk about his life history without mentioning him. Thank you, everyone. At this point, I have to also appreciate those that contributed heavily to this program. Nothing was too small. It cost us a lot, and we didn't feel it. Of course, See never dry. May your pockets never dry. And I pray that his children will continue to live long, the wife will live long, his legacies will live long, and every one of us here will live long. The older ones will not bury their younger ones. We pray that God will continue to be with us, bless us, and I wish all of us safe journey back to our destination. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We will take the closing hymn, Abide With Me. Please, you'll be upstanding while the choir would lead us. by Dr. Yukira Okoli. Immediately after that, we would have a session of group photograph with the family. Thank you.
May we rise for the closing prayers. In Jesus' name, in the mighty name of Jesus, we thank God for the successful tribute for Dr. Uyagu. We pray that God should continue to rest in peace in the mighty name of Jesus. Those of you that have come, even as you go back, may the good Lord continue to guide and protect you to their respective destinations in the mighty name of Jesus. Thank you all for coming once again. Thank you all. Thank you.